Welcome to Dirt Diaries, the podcast where the women of agriculture get real. From muddy boots to boardrooms, we're digging into the unfiltered stories of the FarmHers, ranchers, and every her shaping the future of ag. This isn't just shop talk, it's real talk. We're covering career paths, big wins, hard lessons, and everything in between. So whether you live it every day or you're just ag curious, pop in your earbuds and get ready. These are the raw, inspiring, and wildly relatable conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Let's dig in. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dirt Diaries. Today's episode is all about two women who are changing the way the world sees agriculture, one pop culture headline at a time. Tara and Natalie are the dynamic duo behind Discover Ag, the hit podcast and TV series where they break down food, farming, and Western culture with sharp commentary. Natalie is a fourth-generation cattle rancher from Nebraska. Tara is a fifth-generation dairy farmer and environmental scientist from New Mexico. And together, they've built a community of hundreds of thousands of listeners who tune in weekly to hear their rural perspective on everything from viral food trends to the future of ag. In this conversation, Tara and Natalie open up about their own journeys back to agriculture, why representation for women in ag matters, and how they built Discover Ag into a platform that's as entertaining as it is educational. We talk about the bravery, risk-taking, and the power of showing up authentically, whether that's on the ranch or behind the mic. So let's do it. Let's get dirty with Tara and Natalie. Welcome to another episode of Dirt Diaries, where we're going to dig in and get dirty with Tara and Natalie. There are faces that people have seen, whether it's, on your phone scrolling or on YouTube or listening in your car. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me here at Farm Progress. Before we dive in and dig in, I should say, at all the good, juicy stuff, tell our viewers, our listeners, a little bit about yourselves and kind of, the conception of the podcast and everything you got going on.
I can go first. So I'm actually a dairy farmer, grew up on a dairy farm, so born and raised in dairy. And actually went away to college, got my degree in environmental science, didn't think I'd ever come back to the farm, ever come back to dairy. Ended up marrying the dairy farmer just down the road, and we now dairy with his family and our two girls. And I'll let Natalie share, and then I'll share how we kind of came together.
So very similar to Tara, grew up a little ranch kid in Southwest Montana, very beautiful part of the state. Grew up on a cattle operation. Wonderful experience in agriculture growing up, which I think most kids can relate to, especially looking back, hindsight. You are very thankful for the way you were raised. But ultimately, kind of like Tara, I just never saw agriculture, for whatever reason, as my career path forward. I just did not, that never resonated with me and stuck with me. So I also ventured off the ranch, got a degree outside of agriculture, and ended up circling back around, much like Tara, because of a man. I married back into it. He was ranching in Nebraska, and that's how I kind of ended up back down in Nebraska, full circle, back as a ranch mom, ranch wife, and rancher herself.
Yeah, so we always joke that our friendship business ultimately started as most millennial friendships do, which was online. We DM'd each other.
She slid into those DMs.
And we started talking probably almost like every day in DMs, conversation that moved to like texting. And then it was in 2021 where we met for the first time in real life. And then it was just like a snowball. I came home from one of Natalie's retreats, and by Monday morning, I was like, I'm quitting my job. I'm going into business with this girl I met on the internet. And my husband's like, what happened in the 3 days you were gone this weekend?
I've seen that episode on Dateline. I don't think this is good.
Thankfully, both our husbands were super supportive of us, just like jumping both feet forward with someone that lives over 1,000 miles away from each other. And then honestly, I feel like the rest is history. We did some things on social media, some businesses, but ultimately found our love and passion with the podcast.
Yeah, I think a lot of women can relate to just finding that spark in someone else, like a soul flame, right? And Tara and I joke a lot about that, but it's like serious. Like we connected very much so on a friendship level. We also very much so connected on like a professional business level. And so it just made sense from us for the beginning that like we really resonate. I value this, lady as a person, but like I can see so much of the same thing I want to create with her, like moving forward, looking at agriculture. And so as Tara said, we kind of ebbed and flowed through different things. And, actually, in our interview with you, if you guys want to, listen, we got to actually sit down and turn the mics and interview Kirby, but we talked about, shoot, I'm totally
I don't know where you were going with it.
I love this about them too. Like they play off each other so well.
Where were you going?
I totally believe.
She's like, I blanked. We actually talked a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you guys for having me on.
I cannot find my thought.
I'm so sorry. I don't know where to take you from here.
I don't know either.
Well, I mean, by the way, I don't even know if we've said your podcast name. It's Discover Ag. So
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you. Getting me back on track.
Yeah.
We talked about how we were tired of people, mainstream media, talking about agriculture, but not through the farmer's lens, the voice, the representation, all of that. And so Tara and I eventually were like, you know what? We'll do it. We'll sit down and we'll talk about it. And that was really a genesis and the origin of the podcast Discover Ag.
Yeah. And before we, again, I'm going to totally keep saying this, but dig in to talk about all the things that they have going on because they've got a lot of exciting ventures outside of the podcast as well. I just want to mention, I want to go back to this because kind of piggybacking off being able to talk to you ladies, isn't it funny how I had the same thought? I was like, oh, I probably won't be an ag, like, mass communications journalism major. I don't know. And we found ourselves back in that space. That's wild.
Yeah, I think not to make an agriculture pun, but agriculture's roots run so deep in you. And I think sometimes leaving it, I actually firmly believe this, that leaving it gives you an entirely new appreciation for coming back.
100%.
And I just think I didn't realize what you have in agriculture, what I had, what we all have in agriculture, how special it is till we leave. I went to a major university. I didn't hang out with a single ag kid there. And every time I got to a party, it'd be like, what do you do? And I'd end up talking about my dad being a farmer. All we'd talk about. And I'd be like, well, what does your dad do? Or what does your mom do? Didn't matter. It didn't matter what their answer was. It was they wanted to know more about where their food came from. And you can't understand that or appreciate that till you leave.
That's such a great point. That's so true.
Yeah, and another thing, not to keep referencing your interview, but we talked about how it's evolving for women. Yeah. We're showing up in different ways. We're putting our feet forward a lot to social media, allowing women to have a voice and share a story and show up in different ways. And so, Tara will share a lot that when she was younger, not from lack of support from her father or male figure, she definitely had support, but she's like, I would look around and I didn't always see women showing up in agriculture. And so for me being little, I just didn't know how I would show up. And now I think there's more ways for women to be innovative and be involved and show up and represent agriculture.
It's a great point because I think too, and it's nothing to take away from our grandmothers, our mothers, because my mom was super helpful with my dad on the farm. She was driving the tractor when we were young or baling hay, doing all of those things. She grew up in a ranching family and then married a farmer. So it's kind of colliding, but she was
they're very different worlds.
Yeah. And she was so helpful, but I didn't I think my thought was, well, if I'm going to be on a farm, I'm going to marry a farmer. Mm-hmm. I never once thought oh, I'm going to own the farm myself. But I think us now, our generation as women, are showing up for little girls to be I don't need to marry a farmer. I can go to the bank, get a loan, which we all knew that. We had people above us supporting us in that aspect. We just didn't view it that way. And I don't know why that is.
I really think you have to see that representation. Yeah. And there is something to it. And people can be oh, feminism, whatever they want. But I'm if you don't see people in that role, it is really hard to picture yourself in that role. And I also think agriculture has changed so much. To this day, I say I'm a dairy farmer. I am not the one out milking the cows. My husband runs the day-to-day operations. But I think what's beautiful about that is the way I have found my own path in agriculture. And I think that was another thing. I just didn't see that as a kid. I didn't want to be just exclusively milking cows or running the tractor. And now you can see there is just a spectrum of different things you can be involved in and ways that you can still be a part of agriculture and bring your own unique spin take on agriculture to the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And even going off of that, it's funny because my mom, she wasn't the secretary ever doing the books. My dad had wonderful people who did that and still do that. Not that my mom's not wonderful. She'll be she'll hear this, watch this and be what? But she was more hands-on. She was a worker. She wanted to get her hands dirty. So it's just interesting. And so I think it's really cool how females are showing up and how you guys have shown up in different spaces. So going off of that, you're showing up in kind of a new space too on YouTube. You guys are creating your own TV show. Talk about that.
Yeah, we're giving it our best.
Giving it our all.
And I am praying for you because I get it. No, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I think we've always felt, we are definitely build our ship at sea kind of girly. So when we sat down and we ended up recording this podcast, it was we didn't have this grand vision of this is what we do. This is where we're going. We just knew that we're very passionate about this. We care about this and we want to lend our voice to this. But I think it's everyone knows agriculture is such a beautiful thing. You can talk about crops, you can talk about growing, but there's a big difference between doing that and actually seeing it, like being in the field. And so I think really quickly when we started the podcast, we realized like, yes, we love talking about current cultural events going on agriculture. That's our podcast. It's kind of like this weird news-ish podcast where you tune in and you get, our voice, our female farmer kind of fun millennial take on, current trends. And we could talk about that. And we love it. We love bringing that pulp culture, female lens, auditory. But man, the capacity to take that to like the next level and then actually bring those conversations to real life and then bring people back around. When that clicked for us, it was kind of like, this needs to be in our future some way, somehow. And so, 3 years ago, we, set out as naive, brave little girls, very much fish out of water, thinking we'll film this pilot episode and this will be great. We'll just shop it around. We don't know what we're doing, but surely, the puzzle pieces will fall into place. And, we decided finally that we're just going to launch it ourselves. We're going to take another brave step. We cared about this project too much to let it die on a hard dive. So we're going to self-release this and see where we can take it.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube. So you guys have just released an episode or two, I believe.
Yep.
You have more coming. They're going to film again. And I think it's important for people to know there's so much space out there for people to share stories. And so visually, this is kind of the direction you're going. You're still doing the podcast. So this isn't like an announcement. They're not getting rid of the podcast.
Not leaving the podcast.
We love to yap way too much to take a mic away from us.
Like to yap. They're yapping. But it's just another outlet for you guys to be creative. But again, tell stories. Everyone has a story to tell. And there's so much land. There's so many farms and ranches out there. And there's so many people doing so much for our industry. So why not have as many of us as we can out there doing it and telling the stories? I think that's fantastic. You guys talk about social current, I would say like current events and like the social realm. Like you guys talk about famous people like Travis and Taylor, and they just got engaged. I mean, are we going to hear that?
Haven't seen.
I was like, wait, that's like such a disco like segment. I feel like.
Listen, if something happens in the news with a celebrity, and if it relates to food
in any capacity,
it could be a slight like connection, we will cover it. So every week we cover the top 4 trending news articles in the ag and food and Western space. And yes, sometimes we try to do a mix of like entertainment and education a little bit. So a lot of our articles are more lighthearted. I swear if Travis Kelce had proposed and there had been like, any piece of food in the background, we'd be like, okay, we're covering it.
Oh, well, there was flowers. So it's like, thank you to that, who grew those flowers. Yeah. That is agriculture.
We joke, but I think sometimes we lose sight of what agriculture is. To your point,
such a good point.
Floral, greenery, Florida's like the number one in like nursery, production. And we can, especially consumers can narrow in and focus so much on like agriculture is wheat and corn and crops. And they have this perception. And so it is really fun. Like I do think there's this barrier and this idea of like what we kind of talk about. And then people get in there and they're like, oh, I never really thought about it, but that is agriculture, or like that was a fun tie to. And it's just rewarding, I think, to be able to span out and take people's, kind of narrow focused perception of how they perceive agriculture to be and what, and then loop them in and be like, listen, food touches you in this way every single day. Agriculture touches you in this way. The flowers behind Taylor Swift were grown on a family farm.
I mean, preach. Say it louder for the people in the back. Preach it. But I think that's important. I used to like preface to people, I'm from California, but before you say anything, and I'm like, why am I apologizing from being from the number one agriculture state in the U.S.? I'm like, I should be screaming that from the rooftop. Aside from other things, I know, what people feel about that state, and I get it. Trust me, my family pays the taxes, so it's crazy. But we should be proud of those roots, right? And like, there's so many different things that are grown there and that like are necessities. It's insane, but that's obviously then throughout the U.S. And there's so many people a part of the agriculture space that we need to be sharing more of that, because anybody can relate to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's floral arrangements on their engagement. I mean,
or the fact that Taylor Swift grew up on a Christmas tree farm.
Yes.
And I do think that we get in our ag bubble and we think of ag in a very certain way. And then I think consumers get in, their own, that like food ends at the grocery store. And so it's like trying to connect those two things through like current culture is really what we try to do with Discover Ag. And then I always feel like one article is maybe like a little more ag heavy. that is like, okay, maybe you came for us talking about Taylor Swift and her Christmas tree farm, but hopefully you stayed and got, what's happening at the USDA or what changes, what's going on, across the country, like what true challenges farmers are facing. And so there is definitely that blend there.
Okay, so going back to the podcast, has there been a topic that you guys have talked about that people like have really latched onto in like a really good way or really negative way, or that you guys were like, ooh, I don't know if we should have talked about that one, or you're like, yeah, I wish we would kept talking about that one?
Man, I always am the one that gets myself in hot water. I am on like the National Dairy Marketing Board. And I don't know, dairy politics are maybe like, I always joke they're different than beef politics. I'm sure there's lots of beef drama too, but the dairy drama. And I've had phone calls from different people being like, well, we would have liked it if you'd covered this a little different, And so it is, I'm the troublemaker. And it doesn't help that raw milk is in the news every single day of the week. I'll tell Natalie, I refuse to say the word raw milk again. And she'll be like, well, it's coming in again hot this week. And I'll have to cover it. And so it is definitely me. But I don't ever regret anything we've talked about. I stand so by a lot of the things than what we've brought to light and brought to the podcast.
Tara acts like she doesn't want to talk about dairy in every episode. She's like, I'm not bringing up dairy, but
she's like, milk. You're wearing a black shirt and there's white in it, and you spin it in that way.
That's Natalie's wearing a white dress today because she loves milk.
Yeah, she loves milk. I know. And have you guys? Is there a topic aside from that? I guess like pop culture wise that you have had fun sharing on the podcast.
What were you going to say? I was going to say, I think that the very first time we covered something like Maha, not to get too political, but it was like, is this going to just die? We're going to cover this like whole Make America Healthy Again movement. And is it going to just be dead in the water a week from now? And I feel like now we are over a year later of covering it. And we could probably talk about it every week of what's happening, what, food dyes are looking to remove, how it could impact agriculture. We're giving a keynote actually later today with Farm Progress that we're going to be talking about, this clean eating like movement and what it means for agriculture. And I would have never, that's one that I didn't think was going to just continue. Like I didn't think our president would talk, in his acceptance speech about agriculture and the way he did. It's been crazy to see like the fire spread with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a movement that has obviously been very present in social media and just everyday life for the past year, and I think will continue moving forward. It's funny, I give Tara a hard time about always working in dairy and like how much we talk about raw milk, and I'm not really a celebrity like fan stardom kind of girl. Like, someone famous could walk by and I'll be like, oh, great.
Except for one person.
Yes.
Maybe two.
Yeah, exactly. She knows me so well. But the way she works in dairy, I will work in Post Malone. I'm like, if there is any sort of collab with him, he's doing Kubota, he's got skin, any sort of Western capacity.
You hear that? The discos, they want to collab with you.
Coming next season. So that's always fun for me to work in. I'm kind of a big fan of how he's embraced and what he's brought, like, again, opening people's eyes and connection to Western culture. So it's always fun for me to kind of, I've had to pump the brakes a couple times, like, okay, we can only talk about him so many times, but that's one I always have fun with.
Say that's like a running theme of things we like to talk about is when people unexpectedly, like Post Malone, like decide to embrace agriculture with open arms, and they bring agriculture to new people in very unique ways. And that is when we can find those articles on the podcast, it is just like, I don't know, it's our favorite thing because it's really cool to see. Just when you're so in the industry, you can get really lost in the weeds, I think. And when you see it from someone else's eyes, like, wow, like his entire Skims thing is like very Western, and it just so well done.
Yeah. Posty, again, did you hear that? I want like a cameo with you guys if this happens, if it comes live. Okay, we're going to play a little game right now. We have a few. I know I got to play some games with you guys. But this one we call Break the Ice. So both of you can answer. What is your guys' weirdest habit?
Oh my gosh. I'm hoping you have something for this. What is my weirdest habit?
I don't know.
I do have a weird habit that you always make fun of me for, and I didn't do it last night, and you were like, so when I travel,
I can't believe you're going to share this.
I don't know what else to share.
We get dirty here. We share it all in Dirt Diaries.
Not even anything good. Every time I travel, I get gummy bears. And I sleep with a pillow over my head. I have a line right here I cannot get rid of on my face.
Covering your face, like you can't breathe, like you just
straight up sleep with a pillow on my face so I can sleep through
serial killer vibes.
Yeah, kind of is.
This is who I chose as my business partner and life best friend.
Yeah. I
Catch them on Dateline, the discos.
travel though with gummy bears. And I swear we'll be on like a 3-day trip and Natalie will not eat. You're really bad about not eating in the morning when we have things. I am an eater. I'm like a nervous eater. I'm going to eat. And so sometimes I swear those gummy bears, like day one of like a farm show, I'm like, that's all I got for breakfast was my leftover gummy bears.
They might have been in the bag for a little while. Or
They-
you probably
they
have
might
bags
be.
on bags on bags of the gummy bears.
No, they all have been there. You will even say that. You'll be like, how long have you had those in your backpack? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm
She's like,
living
listen, I
off
don't know
of
where you're going to drag me off to next. I need substance.
I need substance. These gummy bears with a substance. Do you have a habit?
I don't know. I guess I'm too close to my own weird quirks
Yeah, I
to,
think
to
so.
recognize them.
And now
Yeah.
I am too.
And not something enough repetitive that people call me out on it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure.
You have to have something for this.
I mean, I always have a podcast going. I love music.
Yeah. Oh, Natalie loves.
I would say like,
music.
yeah, I would say like finding. I always love like up and coming artists. Like I love to search like new drops, like Friday new music. It's like a little guilty pleasure, I guess.
No, I feel like my guilty pleasure is if you are a disco, you know, I'm like a food junkie. I love food. Like I just get so much enjoyment out of eating and also drinking. So I feel like in the evenings, there is nothing better than like whether it's a good glass of wine, a good drink, like a whiskey drink, and then like something sweet. And I just feel like that is like, if I can get that at the end of the day, it's been a good day.
I'm like my guilty pleasure, Post Malone.
No, it's like when I eat a Posty Oreo. That's like
all these questions, Natalie's just gonna be like, Posty. Posty. Hidden talents.
Oh my
I am
gosh,
so
we are
boring.
so boring.
I
That's all I
know.
have to say.
You guys are too busy. Too busy keeping up with all the things.
No, I do sometimes joke that like our hidden talent is we were both the kids in school that got told we talk too much. We were like too much. There's always like, going. And I always joke that if you got told that in high school or in junior high, you definitely have a podcast nowadays. And that's us.
Hidden talent.
Yapping.
Jokes on those teachers. You're yapping and now you're still yapping.
Yapping.
So you didn't stop them.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I really need to develop like a party trick. Like I have no cool hidden talents to bust out.
Yeah, I don't think mine are like work appropriate.
Okay. Something that makes you guys laugh.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, we don't laugh.
We don't laugh ever. There's zero fun had on our podcast. I don't know. What would you say makes you laugh the most? This morning,
I was howling
literally
at
howling.
social
I
media.
said that we were gonna have like a hotel called on us,
Yeah.
like the lobby.
No, yeah, I'm trying to think of some like. I mean, that's the last memory I can think of is laughing this morning. It's just scrolling social media and seeing funny reels.
Yeah,
For sure. All this funny those are
Sometimes
reels
you
are
see
great.
things on the internet and you're just like, gosh, people are so funny.
Yeah. Right.
Not
Like,
me.
Stranger is really, really funny. I might follow him. If you could be on a reality show and that you would participate on, which one would it be?
Oh my goodness.
I have an answer.
Oh, okay.
I can finally step up, carry
Yes.
my weight, bring something to the table that's worth discussing. My husband has grown up from a very young age going fishing in Canada.
Okay.
Very off grid, off the remote.
I think I just saw you post about this.
Yes. So he coerced me into purchasing our own cabin in Canada. Very remote, very off the grid. And I've always loved the outdoors, obviously, again, growing up in agriculture. But I also love the finer things in life. So I didn't know how I would take to this cabin we purchased. And I got up there and absolutely loved it. And I know my husband's obsessed with the reality TV series Alone, where they drop you off and see how long you can survive.
When
No,
Naked
no,
and
no.
Afraid, she's gonna say it any second.
So I would partake in Alone, but only with my husband. It'd have to be like a team Alone. Like, how long can this couple survive in the wilderness together? I would do that.
And then Natalie wants us together to do Amazing Race.
I really do.
I bet at least once a month. You tell me it's pretty
that
bad.
is such an exaggeration.
And I'm like, please, I was like, just submit
Wait,
the
have you
video
guys
for
reached
us.
out to them? Because I've had a couple.
Tara won't go on.
Oh. Well,
Be like Natalie being lost around the world and me being like, this is where we have to go. And I just am like, I love you. I'd rather just
Who
do that.
found all of the locations today, who
Today.
found parking, who showed up with the ticket, who got us to our tent. Excuse
So
me.
I did forget one thing on this trip, and I swear I told Natalie, I think like a trigger went off in your brain that you were like, Tara forgot something, I have to step up. And so all day today, she has been like, this is where we have to go. And I feel like even last night trying to find the Hertz fan, you were like, Tara, we got to get to the Hertz fan. And I was like, I don't even know what is happening to me right now.
It's Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday. Okay. You guys should go on The Amazing Race.
Absolutely. Everyone tuning in. Everyone DM Tara.
Yes.
Okay.
Blood her.
Okay.
Post Malone, DM them as well. If Tara doesn't go on the Amazing Race with Natalie, Post Malone should. Actually, they wouldn't go anywhere. They would not even participate in the race. They'd be like, let's go do this, our own thing. Okay, this game is Who Said It? Natalie, Tara, or a trendy farmer? I'm going to read you a quote from an episode or a post.
This is so fun.
You guys guess who said it.
Oh my gosh.
Real cows, not cancel culture.
Real cows, not cancel culture. I don't think that was either one of us.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Jenna didn't even give me the answer.
We actually don't know.
I'm going to go with trendy farmer.
I feel pretty confident.
1 point now.
But I was like, gosh, did we say something when we talked about Wagyu? But I don't think so.
No, and we did talk about cancel culture, but I don't remember associating with real cows.
Well, lucky for you guys, I can't fact check that. I'm not.
Which is actually how we prefer it, when you cannot fact check anything we say.
It's
so
perfect.
this is feeling great.
I'm not crunchy. I'm agriculturally aware.
No, that's not us either.
No, but I do really
Because I've
like
never
that.
used crunchy to describe myself.
No.
So
For crunchy?
No,
I don't.
We're not very I'm not very crunchy.
I mean, I connect with a lot of the movements and like the health, obviously health movement, and
I drove through
some
McDonald's
people would
yesterday.
maybe describe me crunchy, but I don't use that word for myself. I'm confident. Yeah.
Wait, I also love throughout this week, you guys were talking about Maha, which again, and you're like gummy bears, McDonald's. They eat McDonald's on Air Force One. So I'm like,
I did Photoshop myself into
True
Air
story.
Force One and pretended like I was eating McDonald's with them because it. So no one hate on McDonald's.
It's just on brand for Discover Ag Podcast.
It is.
yeah, love it. Let's make feed bunks fabulous again.
No, that's
No,
not.
I don't have any feed bunks. I know. I'm like,
I
don't
mean,
have feed bunks.
Jenna,
I don't have feed
am I
bunks.
going to have to toss this card?
I'm now
Or just-
barely.
I actually think
Okay, I don't use the word feed bunks. Not really.
you had me at sustainability.
Yeah, Tara probably swooned.
Okay,
Our
we're
little
getting rid of that
environmental scientist, girly.
Yeah. Love a good environmental talk.
Okay, well, we don't really know who won that, but you both are winners. This one's pop culture rodeo. So I'm going to name a current pop culture trend or celeb moment, and you spin it how it ties back to agriculture in 15 seconds or less. I bet we don't even have a timer, so I won't even know either. But we're just winging it.
ready.
Beyonce's cowboy-inspired era.
Oh my gosh, I know, and she's so controversial with this, but this has actually always been Natalie and I's take when, whether it's Post Malone, whether it's Beyonce, which hers is different. We liked Post's better, but it is still exposing people to agriculture in a new way, people that hadn't before. At the end of the day, even if it's not how you want agriculture to show up, how you want Western culture to show up, I still think there's like importance and relevance there of people who otherwise wouldn't have seen agriculture.
Well, and I also, going back to your story and your connection of it, you're like, this podcast, this TV show is how I get to remain rooted in my how I was raised in my family. And people can't take that away from Beyonce. She is a Texas girl, and I don't think you get to write people's connections of how they want to represent the industry and pick and choose that for people or critique it. And even though people want to. So, she comes from the Western culture, and she, even in her whiskey line, she talks about, like, I think it's her grandfather, her great grandfather. So I think she has the roots, and she's just showing up in a different way that maybe some people in current agriculture don't, and we don't get to write that or decide that for her.
Very, very well said. Cottagecore TikTok.
I thought you were going to say cottage cheese, and I was like, absolutely trending. Protein and everything.
Everything. I feel like cottagecore, it probably goes a little bit, for me, I like relate it to a little bit of the homestead vibe that we have right now of people wanting to like connect back to the land. They want to have a garden. They want to have like roses in their backyard. Probably, Travis Kelce obviously has a rose garden in his backyard.
Obviously.
But no, I think that for me, that would be what I would connect to agriculture is that, and it's not even necessarily just ag. I think it's that feeling like of being a little bit more connected, a little slower paced life, like cutting things out of your life and it just slowing down a little bit. And I think that connects more with agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2020 shifted people's perspective on that and what they, value in life and what they want to know and understand about where their food comes from. And I think one thing we have talked about on the podcast before, actually, it's kind of a frustration point for us is when people will preach like, oh, we need to, for example, with like the Maha movement, like we need to get rid of glyphosate. Okay. So we want to remove this like very common tool that like farmers have in our pockets, to sustainably feed the world. And what a lot of people in the farming industry actually would say is a good thing. Like it is safe and effective for them. And so people will advocate for removing that tool. And it's like, okay, well, you know, what's the answer then? Like, how are we going to do this? And we were actually talking about a podcast where we heard someone say, well, everyone should just grow their own food and start a garden. And Tara and I are like, that's not realistic, you know? So going back to some of these people that maybe they can't have a garden, so they get to have the cottagecore or whatever. Again, that might be the only way they can, like, again, connect this feeling, this movement, this trend is maybe through the aesthetic design. Because it's just not feasible and reasonable for everyone to go to the extent of like full on hands planting agriculture.
Yep. 100%. The Stanley Cup craze.
Post Malone. He had a collaboration with them. Yes, I tried to order it and I wasn't not there.
No, mine is Granny. Granny Bibbins. And her grandson was like, have you ever heard of a Stanley or whatever? And she was like, oh yeah, I have one. And she pulled out like the old, like one of the original, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was an old Stanley. And it was so crazy to see like the Stanley craze when in reality it was very much like a utility tool of like taking a hot mug out, you know, in your tractor. And I don't know, I loved it. She did such a great video with it.
Yeah, that's actually what it brings to me is like nostalgia. Right. We all, as much as we're progressive and we have to move agriculture forward, you know, and like we can't just live in the historical times and, you know, to our point of like business, you know, we have to show up in different ways in agriculture and they're different things. But we'll never get rid of that nostalgia portion. And for me, brands like that, they represent it. You know, they bring back images of your grandpa. They bring back images of, you know, farming and ranching back in a different time.
AI generated grocery list.
Oh my goodness. This is actually something, I don't hate it, but this is something we've actually been, not AI, but we had been talking about with Maha. A bunch of the influencers have recently done where they will have their grocery list you can buy from them, like how to be like Maha at the grocery store. It's been like an interesting trend that we've been seeing come to light. And so I guess I think of that, like being able to type in like, I want whatever it is, you know, organic, or if you don't want organic or whatever, I want apples that are local to me in season, and being able to type that into agriculture and be able to like tell you where you could get stuff. I guess that's how I'd connect it.
That's so interesting because you're almost saying that like in a way it could help connect people even more to food. And it's interesting because for me, I'm like, oh gosh, it makes people, platforms, stories like this even more important because we're losing some of the connection. Like it's going to technology. So it's like we have to.
So a robot now is telling us how to be healthy, what to eat, or
I just
all
guess I'm looking at it half full.
I know. I think it's interesting that like both perspectives are valid. Like it could potentially bring consumers closer, but at the same time be, you know, vigilant of like make sure the humanity in agriculture remains, and like we're focused that like behind every piece of food is a family, is a person.
Yep. Girl math, but for farm expenses.
Do you know how like we have just rattled nonstop on this, and then they're like, "What's your quirk?" And we're like, "Crickets."
We
have ourselves, if you give me a topic in agriculture,
I'm like, yeah, I can have no problem answering in 15 seconds. Girl math
in farm expenses.
Oh my gosh. I feel like it is like, I got this hat for free is girl math with the guy, like our farm husbands that have like the hat that's like from wherever. And I'm like, how much did that hat cost you? And like, I got it for free.
I feel like I maybe have a different perspective on this a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I don't know. I'm just like, go big or go home. Like, I don't know. The expense doesn't bother me. I don't need to validate it. Like, if this is what we need to do, like, we're going to spend it on their operation. We're going to make it work. Like, I don't need girl math to like feel okay about this. Like, we'll do it. Fine. Go big. Just do it.
Go big. Just do it. This is hot take or hard pass. So quick fire food and ag opinions that you're passionately here for, or you're shutting it down. I think you guys are really good at this one.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Pickle flavored cotton candy.
Oh my God. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I mean, I love pickle. Could do like pickle vodka, but
I was like, I love a pickle.
I hate anything that has to do with pickles.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely shutting that down then. Lab grown meat and drive-throughs.
Oh, drive-thrus are yes, absolutely daily. That is my quirk. Lab-grown meat, I feel like I'm like indifferent. We've talked about this. Like I feel like I'm not against it and I'm not for it. I feel like I'm like I don't think there's a market for it, so I'm kind of like, yeah, sure, go ahead, do your thing, spend your money. I think it's gonna end not great for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a cattle rancher, so obviously I'll shut it down, but I have the same sentiments. Like, am I worried about the lab grown space or, you know, anything in that taking over the beef industry or any of our market share? It's not really, there's not a consumer demand for it. We just actually covered on the podcast lab grown butter that was rolled out. And no one is asking for this. Yeah. Like, no one is asking.
Nobody wants this. Nobody.
Somebody sitting in a room doing a scientific experiment. Yeah. They are so offended right now. They're like, those discos, they're shutting down my lab grown butter business. Cows with Instagram handles.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I never would have thought about that. Sure, why not? I love it. It kind of reminds me of, I feel like Iowa Dairy Farmer has a live stream of his robot milking machine at all times. And so, heck yeah, I feel like, isn't it, there's like Ag in the Classroom has like an adopt a cow. And I feel like that'd be such a cute spinoff of that, of like it having its own Instagram handle.
Remember during COVID, I don't know if you guys followed him, but he was the security guard at a museum in Oklahoma City, and he was. Did you? I don't know. And on Twitter, it was hilarious. So they had it because he was the only one manning the place. Like, obviously, everything was shut down. And he was so funny. He's like, hey, it's Jim here again. Just check it on with me and my friends. And it's like, dinosaur bones behind him. He's like, I know he looks scary, but he's really friendly. Like, he became this whole persona. And it was like so great. I was like, we need more of that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Just lighthearted. Yeah. Great. Avocados and mac and cheese.
Together?
Mm-hmm.
Shutting her down.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah, that sounds disgusting.
Nobody asked for that. Lab grown.
Nobody asked for mac and cheese and
avocados. No one's
You can have both, but not together. Okay, this is podcaster ping pong. So I'm not going to set a timer because, again, we don't have one. Wow. And then you guys go back and forth naming ag-related pop culture moments or trends. Whoever hesitates, repeats, or stumbles loses the round. So we don't need a timer for this, but this will be fun. Ag moments in TV movies.
Oh my gosh, I'm like completely blank.
Well, we covered, what's the gold?
Oh yeah, the gold. What was that movie? It was about green and gold.
Yeah, green and gold.
Green and
so
gold.
I say that, green and gold.
We stumbled.
Lost.
Dead in the water.
Natalie got that one. Okay, food products with rebrands.
Oh, Cracker Barrel.
Natalie's got two.
Friday.
Terms people think mean sustainable.
Regenerative.
Loser.
Take it from here, Natalie.
FarmHer fashion faux pas.
Oh, I don't know if I like this one. I feel like it would be me. I feel like I'm always so self-conscious about like, did I wear the right cowboy boots with the right outfit? And so I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any. Wear whatever you want. Love it.
Probably wearing like sandals out to work, which I do all the time, but it's like definitely a faux pas. We should not be wearing sandals out to work.
We should not do this.
No, we should probably have.
But every woman in agriculture can relate to the faux pas.
Sometimes you got to let those toes breathe, even on the farm.
Oh my gosh,
the ranch.
I had to film a video with my husband the other day. This is unrelated. And I ran out the house. I wasn't there to I just needed a video of him. And I was wearing Air Force Ones. White. Fully white.
Fully white Air Force Ones. You're like, done.
Farmer fashion faux pas.
That's mine.
Oh my gosh. Well, going back to more serious topics, thank you. That was fun with you.
That was fun.
And I know that you guys, again, you are just so deeply rooted in this industry. You're very passionate about it. You have created such a platform to speak on behalf of it. And I think that's so necessary and needed. Has there been a distinct moment of pride for you guys along your journey? Whether it was, starting out in the social media space to where you guys are today?
Oh gosh, there has been a couple.
Share them all.
Are you going to share about the TV show? Because then I'll share about the podcast.
Sure.
There's been 2 times that we've hit we hit number 1 on the charts for podcasting for marketing, and we hit number 1 on the charts for food. And I know food is connected to agriculture, but if you look at the food charts for agriculture or for food, it is like chefs. It is all chefs on there. It is people with, TV shows on Food Network. And I feel like when we hit that, it was just like, how cool that we, if someone is scanning the food charts, they might see this podcast about agriculture. And for me, for some reason with the podcast, that was just like a moment that was like, this is food. We are food. We are agriculture. And I don't know, it really brought it full circle for me. Like we've said, we get lost in the weeds. Consumers don't know who we are. And it just was like, this is it. It is all connected.
So a couple things before I share mine. On that note, we got to speak on stage at South by Southwest, and it's kind of the same testaments of, not a lot of people. We were in the food tract, and again, it wasn't farmers and ranchers showing up on stage. And the really cool thing, it was awesome to go down there, and it was very surreal. I just remember being there and being like, how are we here? Meghan Markle's here. Like, what is going on? We're going to get up stage and talk. And that was obviously very rewarding. But afterwards, someone else just this year, Kate from Range Revolution, she submitted a panel and went down there and talked about how farmer-facing brands in the fashion industry are going to reshape sustainability. So she's a leather maker. She brought in Duckworth, which is like direct-to-consumer wool. and, a couple other people. And she said, I never would have done that if I hadn't seen you girls do it. And it was a moment like that. We actually got a DM the other day that someone commented, we inspired them to start their own ag podcast in Europe. Awesome. And it's just little things like that where I'm like, that's the coolest thing, is that bravery. It's one of my favorite emotions, I guess, that I really, really value. I think it ties very closely to success. And I really pride myself on being brave and taking risks. And so it's very rewarding for me to see that when my bravery can ripple out and have effects and inspire other women to show up and do big things in agriculture. And on that note, like speaking with bravery, I think that's why for me, I'm also so proud of the TV show. I mean, we have no business going out and doing a TV show, especially running it by ourselves without, like a team or anyone directing us. We have no background. It's like I'm a pharmacist. I went to school for organic chemistry, and microbiology.
We're
like
really good.
I have no idea when it comes to media and all these different things. No training. Like we are absolutely two people that had no business to be like, we can start a show. But I just think big things come from little moments of bravery. And so for us to just say, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to book the tickets. We know this family. We're just going to go and figure this out. We're we have 2 mics, we have things to say, and we have a family to showcase and a product to talk about. And again, hopefully, in a couple of years, we'll look back and say this is what came out of that moment of bravery. That again, you can reflect back on and just be really, really proud of.
Yeah. And I think off of that too, don't you think you've looked at YouTube, and I mean, you guys have children, so you understand, there's little girls putting on makeup. So they're teaching makeup tutorials. I mean, doing it way better than I ever could. And some playing with toys, and, it's there's a space for everyone. And so why not? Nobody has to, in those spaces, nobody has to be media trained, right? You're not performing brain surgery. That's when you need to be trained really on something. And yes, there's moments you definitely need to be media trained, especially when you're talking about things that could critically impact people. But in this instance, you're just telling people stories. And how fascinating is that?
Yeah, and not to drag this on, but I just think we have, and maybe it's just myself, but I think a lot of women can relate to this, that we have such a fear of failure. How embarrassing to put out a project that has no views or doesn't go anywhere. People can't know I started this and it didn't get picked up or nothing came of it. And it's no, that's not how people got to where they are eventually. Someone started somewhere, and they probably, looking back, they didn't like where they started. And there is no shame, if it doesn't take off in the way you thought or it turns into something different, you have to have the action at the beginning. And so I think, I just want to encourage people that, you don't know what this will turn into, maybe nothing, but that doesn't mean you don't start. You still start the project.
Yeah, you just do it, right?
Yeah,
just like
absolutely.
we all.
That
and
is
I mean,
our running theme.
Yeah, off of that, when the first season I did RFD-TV, we didn't even get to finish the season because we were just so inundated with our mission to, 100 rodeos in 100 days, all the things. And I felt that sense of failure. I was like, I'm doing a disservice to, these women. We didn't even show some of the episodes we could, all the things. But at the end of the day, it's you know what? They got to share their story with me and our crew. And that's even special. And I'm sorry for them, if their episodes never got to air, but at the same time, and I'm sorry that stopped for a while, but look, it's back around now, and we're getting to do it again. So I just think the comparison to others, the failures, all of that, we all have that. We're all human. But at the end of the day, Sadie Noblet said the best thing on Dirt Diaries, and it was a piece of advice she got from her father, Dussen Noblet, and they have Hatco, so resist all stress and all that. You guys know that. And she said her dad has always taught them to be like a racehorse. Racehorses have blinders on. So when they're running the race, they're not looking to the left or looking to the right at who they're running against. And if that horse is faster, they're running their own race. And I think if we keep that mentality and we remember that, worry about ourselves, be kind, do good for others, run your own race. It doesn't matter where you finish because you don't really know if you're first or last. And as long as you finish the race that you're running, I just think that's impactful.
Yeah,
it's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we end, the last thing we like to ask on Dirt Diaries is if you had a diary and you could write each other, because it's the two of you, if you could write each other an entry in that journal and in the diary, what would you want to say to one another?
Oh my goodness. I'll go first. Natalie and I, we always say that we should journal and diary because we have really bad memories and it would help us remember all the things. So I'll go off of something I feel said at the very beginning of us meeting. I feel the time when we met was such a moment in time where you said what is soul fire? What did you say? Soul
Twin flames.
Twin flames.
That's a real thing.
That I believe you. We're not fact checking here. That's clear. We've already decided that on this podcast. It was just such a moment in time. not saying if we met now it wouldn't have happened, but it was just like we were both so on fire for the same things, and it was just, I don't think anyone like could have stopped us from like the momentum after meeting and like going, and like I don't think we could have ever guessed. Like for some reason I really felt this way when we were on Sheep Trail, and maybe because we were very disconnected but also very connected. We had a camera crew like following us around. And it was just like, how did one girl from Nebraska and one girl from New Mexico end up in a tent in Montana talking about sheep, And so I don't really know where I'm going with this, but that's my diary entry to you.
She rambled.
She's like, "Dear diary, how did we get here, Natalie?" The end.
Where did you drag me to today?
Love, Tara.
Wherever we woke up.
I think mine would be an entry on gratitude.
Oh, yours is going to be much deeper than mine.
I know, you know me. I think it is one thing, especially for my personality, to take a risk on myself. I think a lot of people have the confidence in themselves, but it's like one thing to bet on someone else, especially, again, someone that you maybe didn't know very well, but lives a bunch of states away from you. So I think I would write a entry of gratitude, like, thank you for taking a bet on me so that we could build this together. Because if you had questioned, is she the right fit? Can she do this? Can she keep up with me? None of it would have happened. So I'm thankful she took a bet.
I have a crazy story. I think I've told you this once before. I did this thing last year where every day I searched my phone for that day and deleted like old photos that were like no longer serving me, basically trying to like delete things off my phone. And I came across a DM that I screenshotted in 2014, 2015. I don't know, it was very early days of Instagram. I feel like both had maybe like 2015 then. Just started, and it was from your account. It was a joint account with you, and you said, "Hey, this is Natalie," and you just like wrote me like, "I really love what you're doing. Like, I thank you for showing up. I see you. Like, I connect with you. You inspire me."
You're so nice.
You were so nice. You are so nice. Anyway, and I sent it to you like obviously like last year, and was like how crazy like how encouraging it was for me to see that and like screenshot it. So yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Here we are.
Progress.
As far as 10 years later.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for joining me here at Farm Progress on the RFD-TV stage. But for Dirt Diaries, talking all things Discover Ag, all your discos, but all the great stories and just all the things you guys are doing for advocating for our industry. It's really appreciated. And again, make sure people go listen and watch and follow along everything that they're doing. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
That's it for today's episode of Dirt Diaries, where the women of ag leave no story untold. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone else. Until next time, keep showing up, speaking out, and getting your hands dirty.